All right, people. Semis 3 coming right up. We've had we've had our play-in game. We've had two semis matches, and we are one game away from setting that final spot in the finals against me. So this will be good. Continuing my journey of scouting my potential opponents. Let's go ahead and hop in and see what they have for us. So, in the red, first position here, we have Joni, who has been in our tourneys this year, has had a lot of success. Went to the finals in our first tournament of this this year, and taking the 369, going for the only strong ore spot in the game. In general, this is a low producing ore board, high producing wood. We have some nice wheat spots at the bottom, but I imagine someone will end up without wheat production for the whole game, which is going to suck. So the ports are going to come into play here. The late game will be slow in general, and we're going to have to see who can adapt and hopefully reach some of these ports on the outsides. In the second spot here, green Joey Donuts, also been with us for even longer than red, and a true veteran of the game, very strong player, has gotten better over the iterations of the tourneys and seasons that we've had. And here, going for another strong production spot, getting 3 resources, now needing wheat and ore. Probably won't get the ore on the way back, but could snag a wheat potentially if things break right. So something interesting that I've thought about is this wood port is, again, with wood being such a strong production entity for this game, this spot is super nice along with that wood port. I think that gives you a lot of options just going forward, and you become hard to kind of go after in general. The downside is obviously you're relying on 8 and 4 and 8 and 4 here, so not really diversity in numbers, so that might be a bit tough, but it should be interesting. So blue here, third placement. Again, a very established veteran of the league, very strong placements and performances. Going here with a dev card set up to start, 3 resources for dev, completely locking out the ore. So now no one else has access to ore, which I think is a strong play. I think you make friends with red. No one, red will never hit you on this 9 ore, but everyone else will. So maybe could form a quasi alliance with red here and go from there. And orange got that wood with the last placement. A new player joining with this tourney, and again, had some success, right? Like everyone here who's made to the semis, they all had 2 out of 4 wins exactly, including me. So it all came down to tiebreakers. It was super tight all the way down. So everyone here is a very strong player, and these games have been absolute fireworks, right? We've had close games, we've had blowouts. So we've experienced a variety of results here, and we're going to see if these guys can give us a good one. If I'm orange here, this is a really nice spot just because of the wheat production. I think if you go for here and here with the free road, you could be in a good spot. Again, I would actually consider this along with this or this. And they're going to go for that. I would have gone for that second for the free road, 100%. But let's see what they do on their second placement on the way back. Now here they're probably going to point up, go for that 3 for 1 and the wheat port, which makes sense. You could also go here or here, but I think this spot will be locked off with this someone taking this placement. Someone could even go here just for the free road, right? So I think going up is correct, safe play, and that's what they do. And yeah, going for the production. Now, it's an argument to be made to just settle here for that wood port, but you'll get there anyways, and so I guess they're not too concerned about that. And especially, you don't need the wood port in the early game. You're going to be using wood for road building and settling. So if they can get that first settlement on there, they'll be in a good spot for sure. And if I'm blue here, obvious spot is here. Just taking the free road, getting the road production, and yeah, easy, done. Gonna probably point at the right here. Pointing down, kind of, you have to go all the way around. You might as well point right and go for that spot if it's still there. Although I imagine this is an option for some people, 6, 11, 4. So green here is missing, again, wheat and ore. I imagine they go here just for the production of wheat. Point this way. Won't really use this port or really that port either, but could definitely go to the 3-for-1 and establish their game that way. That said, I think they'll run into trouble long term just because that lack of ore production is going to haunt them. And if you don't have a specialized port like this wood port with the wood production, it's going to be hard for you to get the resources to trade for ore because no one's going to really want to trade with you on an ore scarce board. So you're going to have to pay a lot for it, or you're going to have 4-for-1, 3-for-1 throughout the game, right? So that'll be tough. But I think you're kind of out of options. I think this is the most obvious spot. I think as far as things go, it's not terrible. And, as red here, if this is taken, which it just has been, now I'm in a relatively interesting position. I could go here and go without wheat for the entire game, and they do, going for that brick port. The other option would have been here, and this would be interesting just to go down to that 3-for-1, get the extra wheat production. Orange is not really trying to race you there right now. They could cut you off, but you have the head start. You can build one more road, secure that, and I don't know. I think that's a decent option as well. But they choose to go for the more specialized strat, which I can respect. The issue is, I'm not sure how much they'll be able to capitalize on this brick port. Because even if they get the wood port, they don't have too much wood production. They'll have to go around here to get there, which is possible, but it's a more long-term play, right? Which I can definitely appreciate. And I think here the issues are obvious. You don't get the production. You don't have too much wheat or sheep or brick to start. So the downsides are obvious, but the upside here would have been nice too. Just something to consider. But I think this is probably the right placement. So first road here set by green. That's a really good head start on the race down here between blue and green. I think blue will probably forgo this race, although they have nothing else to fight for. But I think they would rather go up to that 3-for-1 port. But they're going to probably hold here and just try to build 2 roads out of nowhere and just cut off green completely. And interestingly, I don't think green cares too much if blue does cut them off. Blue needs that 3-for-1 port. Green doesn't need it as badly if they settle here, because then they can go down to this 3-for-1 port with extra wheat production, right? So this whole bottom portion is going to be really nice for green if they can settle there and lock it down and beat orange to that 3-for-1 port. Looking for brick, right? So early game, everyone's going to be looking for brick. People might be willing to trade it, but I really doubt it. If they have the brick, they probably have the wood that's going along with it because they're both in such high production. We can see here red even has coordinated 6s, which I think is an added bonus. So every 6 is a road, which is really nice, right? Now orange here building that road to that wood port, committing there. I think it's smart, and I don't think red will get there quite in time, especially to settle. And that's where the lack of wheat kind of comes into play. But they'll probably be happy with the 3-for-1 and the brick port, especially for now. maybe they build down to this wheat 2-for-1 ore in the long game. And the 10 brick getting hit by red, which makes sense. You can't hit your own spot, and brick. If you hit this, takes out 2 players from producing brick, and that really hampers their road production, their settlements, things like that. So blue here trying to get some brick again. It's more wood dense than brick dense, so red will charge a premium if blue wants to get it done. And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if blue can do it. Probably because they're trying to build those either road and settle or 2 roads. With 6 cards, I imagine road and settle is a possibility. And that would be a huge move if they could have pulled that off there. But it doesn't look like they can do it. If I were them, I would even say, give me this 1 trade for now, and I'll give you 2 free resources of any kind in the future if you just let me settle there. But choosing to pass here, and now again, orange wanting brick, probably for the settlement, and red will counter again. Or no, they won't, but looking for wood here. Again, road building materials are going to be important. And a 7 here, so red has another decision to make. Going directly for orange here, so probably seeing that orange is probably the strongest competitor, which I could get behind. I think definitely the most possibilities, the most flexibility, and the most space, right? If they can settle on that 2-for-1, then they're in really good shape. They're only at 3 resources though, so that's not going to happen anytime soon, let's say. So now the price of brick is going up, and red will accept this, and that'll get done. And a settle is probably incoming here, right there. Oh, can't get it done, but willing to pay a lot, and red will take it again, which I think is an interesting move. Oh, orange will take it too, and trading with red, which I'm not too sure about. So if I were green, I would have massively. I think this is a big blunder, actually. Like, red here doesn't make any wheat, and now they get 3 wheat for 1 sheep, which is crazy. I would have much rather traded with orange here, who actually produces wheat and maybe doesn't need it as much. But red is desperate for wheat here, and now getting 5 resources off of 2 is a huge win, right? Now, of course, the 7 rolls and they discard, but I think red only needs the 1 wheat potentially, but they tried, right? They got it through, and I guess it all evened out at the end. And now blue with the plow, which we did see coming, need to get done for any chance of life here, so that they can have some flexibility with the 3-for-1. Extra sheep production, kind of balancing out the resources, and able to connect for longest road in the long term. Kind of snake your way up there, potentially. And red here is slowing down. That wheat would have been nice. Discarding 2 wheat, but then being unable to do anything on that turn is questionable to me. I think wheat is so valuable that you just want to discard everything except for the wheat, unless you can use the remaining resources immediately on your turn, right? That's what my philosophy on it would be, at least. Now here, orange, trying desperately to settle, and then go for the 3-for-1. Or maybe go for the wheat. I think I think there are arguments for both. I think 3-for-1 is probably better just because you balance out the brick with the wood production. But obviously on the wheat pour you get more wood production and you get to have flexibility on your eights even more. Trading a road here for sheep. This is probably a plow. Yeah, it doesn't happen. I think people see it coming. That's a very desperate trade. Although I don't know that a plow was necessarily coming, it probably was. And 2 roads here. So yeah, I imagine more roads in hand too. Trying to just get rid of resources here. And interestingly, just giving up that wood spot to orange entirely, which I don't blame them for. Cannot waste roads trying to win races that you eventually lose. You don't win the game that way. At the same time, you have to take some risks sometimes, right? It's either win or go home right now. And orange here finally with the settle. So finally getting that trade done and able to settle. I think that's a good trade for both sides here. I think both sides are happy with that. Especially blue here, who doesn't produce that much wheat or sheep. Red able to settle. Huge settle here. Finally getting that brick port that they desired in the long term, right? Next up is a 3-for-1 port. Then maybe you snake your way down here. Or if you want, you can go up here. But I would prefer going down here if I was red. And everyone has settled once, which is great. It's an even game. You love to see that. But, some possibilities, right? So I think long term here, blue's going to take the longest road and hold it. I think red is probably still in good shape to win the entire thing if they can get to that 5 wheat here with the ore, along with obviously the 3-for-1. I think blue has their path if they can make it to this 3-for-1, and again, I think orange is in a really good spot if they can city right here, which the first city for them will take forever, but they'll get it done. And I think here you can make the same argument for red, but now with the 2-for-1 brick port, you just got to get lucky a couple times, and you'll get there. Huge discard by green. That's not good. That's not good. Green is somewhat concerning right now in terms of their position. They have the production, but they need to be able to make more progress, I think, because I don't think they'll long term be able to get road, and I don't think they'll be able to take largest army. So if their idea is to go without those for their path to victory, they're going to need to settle and city quickly. And the issue with their setup is, they would have liked to win this race. Not possible, but even if they get down here, they kind of lack an ore production. That'll matter, right, in the long term. We see orange already with 2 dev cards, right? So that'll matter. That'll come into play. So that means they were able to get the ore to make that happen, right? So even though they don't have access to ore, they did generate 2 ore and were able to buy 2 dev cards with it, which is important. I think that's a sign of things to come here. The 9 rolls, it's huge. Watch out for the 9s. Those will really shift the game. And 10 here. Huge for green. 13 cards. So this is where you make your big moves, but you gotta hope that they're compatible resources. So building 1 road, you hope you can build another, and you do. And you won't get the settle off, but no one would have traded with you probably to help you get it, so they're going to do it by themselves. And yeah, clean turn. That's huge for them. For all the 7s that have happened, all the discards, being able to road settle on 1 turn is absolutely massive. And green is now launching themselves back into this in a very real way. And again, like most games, right? Like the first to city is going to have a huge leg up over everyone else. The only thing that really stops them in most games is the knight hitting them, the robber hitting them. So we'll see who's the first to settle. The ore production should matter, but it hasn't looked like it matters too much yet. So we'll see. If someone can control that knight with the dev cards, they'll be in a really good spot, right? Because not only do you get a largest army, you do control the robber, which is huge, absolutely massive. And we see our first knight being played. So keep in mind now, blue and orange are both at one knight played, and that'll be a battle to watch. I think blue has the edge in terms of production just because of the ore, but I'm not so sure that's the case actually, because orange has a production in terms of sheep and wheat, but then on top of that has the 2 wood spots to compensate. So perhaps orange is in a much better spot in this race for largest army than initially thought. Tons are huge for green here. And red, trying to get something done here. We'll be able to get it done. And buying a dev card. Someone's probably hoping for road builder here. Perhaps, well, I'm not sure actually. This is a really road heavy board. I'm not sure anyone's planning for it. But I'm curious as to why red might go for dev cards here. I think it would be nice to see them settle or go for that 5 at the bottom left. And blue already knows that they're going to take longest roads, so they're not too concerned about it. That's why you see them going up here instead of connecting their roads down here. No one's going to take the effort to build 3 roads just to block them off, or 2 roads even. This is very wasteful, unless you're getting fed by your opponents, right? Now green getting into the game, going for the 3-for-1 port. Orange could be in trouble if they aren't able to expand anytime, but they'll forego it altogether. So, we thought about whether they would go for that 3-for-1. They choose not to, just going for the specialty of the wheat and wood, which is fair. I think the priority is the city, and you don't need the extra production that the 10 brick gives you. The 3-for-1 might be nice, but you only have, some minor brick, and some minor sheep that you might get extra value from for that port, which isn't really that valuable at the end of the day. So they'll probably build up 2 roads here and settle here. Maybe they'll take this cheap settle with the road settled right here, if they can pull it off. But green has that option too now, so something to keep in mind. And green will want to do this just for the space, the victory point, the more balanced production. Um, so yeah, a lot of like enough positives for green to go ahead with that settlement. Alternatively, they could just go here and get the extra sheep production. They don't need the port at all, right? They're just taking it away from orange, which itself is a tactic. I really don't know who can win this. It seems close. I think red is kind of falling out of it now, actually, because that lack of wheat production seems to just be hampering them. Even though they do have the wood production and brick production with the 6 to get some roads down, right? Build it, like expand early. That's what you would think, but it hasn't really happened, and I think red is kind of falling out of this now. Green or blue's also at 3 victory points, but they have longest road pretty much locked down. They're going to be the player to get it long term, and I think everyone else is kind of aware of that too. Now, orange here obviously in the best spot, making efficient use of these settlements, right? So no one's going to probably build 2 roads like green. You don't really see green building 2 roads up here when they just built a road here. So this is a really safe spot to settle, and you get added value from that wheat port. So very strong overall. I think orange is proving to be a strong player. Now these rookies, right? Like these rookies come in and they kind of show us up every time. Both the last 2 tourneys of this year have been won by rookies. So they just came in first appearance and just swept everyone. And so now you're seeing more talks of potential anonymous tourneys. Where the target that you might have acquired over playing so many Catan games in this league can be diminished when everyone's anonymous, right? So then you're just strictly playing the board, playing a position of players rather than their images. So that certainly happens a lot, right? Like it's a social game in that way where you build these bonds with the players that you play against, you learn them. You figure out their tendencies, you figure out what they're able to do. But with rookies, there's no real scouting report, right? There's nothing to really scout them out. So you see these rookies have immense success coming in, and then people kind of are like, okay, these guys are really good. Let's be wary of them. Let's hit them with the robber a few extra times. And those few extra times add up, right? And that really can swing the game in a lot of cases. But orange here in a really strong spot. 2 knights played. Choosing who to steal from here, I think I would steal from blue, but it depends on if you're going for a specific resource. And does steal from blue, which makes sense. And rolling 7, moving again. Now I would have hit the 9 or first, but they got lucky, I think, and rolled the 7 right after. So works out, stealing from red this time to keep it even, which is respectable. Not something I would necessarily do, but maybe they got what they wanted from blue already, so they're going for red. And another knight played by red, so this is really getting spicy. We have the 2 dev cards still to be played by blue if they were both knights, which I doubt they are, but if they were both knights, they could get up to 3 and take a largest army. But red has this dev card behind as well, and just played a knight and put it back on this brick, which just got hit. So great placement, great value there, getting a trade done, and another dev card. So interesting strats, right? I think red is playing the game where you kind of fall back, keep your target low, make it seem like you're not doing much, but constantly buying dev cards, right? Dev cards are super sneaky. It could be anything. They could do anything. I think he's very much trying to hold on to largest army here in the long term, and he doesn't want a city, even if he could. So it makes sense. But now we do see the first city, and now green will be a huge target going forward. Being the first person to city without any ore production is absolutely massive. The production is just too overwhelming now. And now sitting here kind of balances out the production of these 3 resources with the immense wheat production you have. 3 for 1 port. This is almost the dream setup right here. Now the issue, right, with this type of setup, the good thing about longest road and largest army is you can kind of hold off on taking them until you kind of are at the right moment to strike. When you're playing the type of game Green's playing, when you don't really have equity for longest road or largest army, you have to play a front running game where you lead with the settlements and the cities and the production. But when you lead with that, everyone thinks you're a big target, which you are, right? Very much so. But these guys with 3 dev cards are super dangerous. They can absolutely destroy the game, completely flip the tide, right? They have a lot of potential. And keep in mind, right? Like, again, this is a now taking 2 from the bank and immediately sitting. So catching up immediately, right? Like knowing that the first city has been built and then knowing that this is a fine time to build that second city on the board and not be a huge target still at all, right? Yeah, I think Red is playing this really, really well, kind of hanging back right below the leader at any given point, never quite being the main target. Now, keep in mind again, right? As I was saying, Blue is going to lock down longest road, so that'll be interesting to see if we can take advantage of that, and I think it'll be fun to see if we can find some form of slingshotting, right, from Blue in that case. But the thing is, I think they'll take it too early and they'll hold it for too long, so they'll be a target long term, especially with the 3 dev cards. So they're going to need a city 2, hopefully quickly right there. And obviously Orange is trying to city right there, so we'll see who gets there. And no one's going to trade wheat to Blue here, taking longest road officially. So now being at 5 with 3 dev cards, if they were all VPs, that would be 8 automatically. Even if they weren't, each dev card could be turned into a VP in practice. So you could make a good argument for him being at 8 just off of that. And that just launches him way up, right? So people are going to have to start targeting him if they want to stay in it. But a very close battle here. Very hard front match so far. Yeah, everyone's desperate for wheat, and that's where Green will come to shine, right? I think Green just has access to every single wheat spot, and they're gonna be in really good shape. Now, if Green somehow chooses to build here just for the extra wheat, this completely blocks Red off from any wheat production, and they'll probably be out of the game, in my opinion. I'm trading for wood here, going for another dev card. These are expensive dev cards. 4 to the bank. You know, you would have liked to see a settle so you could have 3 to the bank, but I think it's an interesting tactic. I think still a bit far away though from long-term success here for me. Blue here with another great roll. Not for them, I guess, but 8 cards can do something with it. Has 3 dev cards, could do something with that, and you should not be trading with Blue here, in my opinion, unless you can absolutely use those resources immediately. Here, they're going to settle, and yeah, it's looking tough for everyone else actually. They have the 3-for-1 port. They don't quite have the production everywhere, but they're gonna get longest. They're gonna keep longest road. They have 3 dev cards. They can city probably at any point soon, especially with that 3-for-1. So yeah, we'll see. I think Blue's got this in the bag though. Now we're gonna hope if we're Green that the 7 doesn't roll and then we can get through. And yeah, I don't think green should be hit nearly as much as they are. I think blue is by far the leader of the pack. So if I were them, I would have gone six brick, 5 wood, 10 wheat, 9 ore. Any of those are great spots, honestly. To hit blue, I would prefer one of these two, just because city building. But any of them are good, right? And I think those are the only four that should be realistically be hit at this point. And huge production for Joey Donuts on the fives. That's been coming through all game, and locking down large army finally. And again, I don't agree with this placement. I think I would go one of these places or here. This is okay. I mean, you do get rid of some sheep production, but they have access to sheep right here, so you aren't completely hampering any one thing that they're trying to do, right? So that's where I would go one of these two spots. And unfortunately, green is having to discard, but hopefully we'll be able to settle still. Although now I'm not so certain. They're going to place the robber, and that's a fine spot. Going for red here a little bit more, but again, I kind of disagree. I think while red is a threat, I think this is probably the better spot overall. But everyone's a threat now at this point, right? I think orange is probably the one falling away, which is kind of interesting because I thought they had a very strong start coming in, but they haven't been able to settle since they built this strong road. They're going to need a city too soon. Oh, and this could be big. Is it just a death card? No, it's not. But he is saving up for a city, so that is coming soon. That'll be huge when it gets placed right here for green. But green is probably out of it too, actually. I think it's kind of a two-horse race between blue and maybe red comes from behind with the largest army. I think these two players are kind of out of it, right? Because this is a pure 5. This is maybe a max, a pure a 5, right? With the VP as death card. But you don't have too much else going for these guys. Even though green has so much production, it hasn't really come into play. They haven't been able to settle there. So I think this is again blue's game to lose. Once they city here, it's going to be really really tough to stop them. And honestly, a very impressive performance to just keep it off this 9 spot. I think this 9 spot should be hit all the time, personally at least. Orange with a huge roll here. Hopefully they can settle. If not, maybe city. If not, death card. That's the order of operations here. And able to make that settle happen. So that's good. Now here, another big turn incoming. No one should trade. I'm thinking about it, but no, not gonna happen. And yeah, I mean, obviously red is trying to city here. Won't happen, but we'll settle for a death card again, which is fair. I think if you can't do anything else, use your resources in death card. It can only help you. Oh, huge rule here. 11 is big for red, who's trying to city. Now blue here has some options. Still holding on to longest road. I'm surprised no one else has tried to take it. I think maybe green is going to sneak it away at the last moment, but I don't know. It might be too little too late. We'll have to see. Blue here has some options, trying to get some wheat. Probably to city. Might have 9, red says, which is very fair. And I would be afraid of that too. I wouldn't trade. And yeah, if I'm blue, I gotta do something here. Use that 3 for 1 port, maybe dev card, worst case. But if you can't do that, then set yourself up for a productive turn next time around. Or just road and just connect and keep that longest road strong at least, right? And they're gonna do that. Leave the door open a little bit for someone to snag it away for a second, but I think long term they're gonna keep it. And they just did that to spend the resources so they don't have over 7 when a 7 does get rolled. But now they're at 10 and red at 12. Big turn here for red with 2 dev cards. Holding on to the largest army. Trying to get a wood for 2 sheep, which is very interesting. Perhaps trying to settle finally? Or is this 2 dev cards? Because I know that they did roll. Yeah, they did just get 2 ore. So, interesting play from red here. I'm not sure what the play exactly is here. I would take it, but I'm really scared, right? So blue's reading this as road to win for him, which is a fair read. And yeah, that's a sick read actually. That's probably correct. So able to city, didn't even need it. Yeah, this is a very sus trade offer. Kind of reveals a lot, and you need to break that badly. That seems like a game-winning play. So this is 2 VPs, which is crazy. That he just revealed that a little bit. So wow. So red is actually, the dev cards really did pay off in the long term, and blue is desperately trying to close the game right here. So this end has come up on us a lot quicker than I expected, and green here, able to get that city in. A huge turn here for blue, and it could be the game. It's unlikely that he has 3 VPs, but it's not impossible. He's gonna need to city. Oh man, disgusting plow. And that actually completely hampers red. It's an unbelievable play. Wow. Unbelievable play. That's how you use road building, is to plow and completely waste all the progress that red worked so hard to make. All those dev cards, if you maybe had drawn 1 less dev card, maybe you get that settled. But you have the 2 VPs probably, so you're probably okay. The issue is now you have to continue to dev card, or you have to build a city, and you can't really settle that cheaply anymore. So that's why this is an unbelievably huge play for blue, and unfortunately I don't think red will get any trades through. This could very well be a city, which gives the game to him. So, okay, so not quite. That could have been a blunder, but I don't think he had the ore, which is fair. Meanwhile, blue getting the ore. Feeling very good about that. And a quick settle here from green. Now it's 7. I still don't think it'll be enough, and I think red is out of it. If they have any game to play, it'll be for drawing dev cards, and that's it. Crazy game. It was a great battle between blue and red. Green and orange made it very interesting. it was a good game and well played. And what happens here is Blue wins on a city with 2 VPs. And that's the first city, right? So interestingly enough, this board didn't lend itself well to ore production, right? So then the cities would have been lacking, and that's what we predicted, and that's what happened, right? Orange ended up building no cities, even though they had the strong wood port and the wheat port. I'm very surprised that they weren't able to pull the city off and kind of rocket ship from there. Meanwhile, red and blue are the ones who are only on the only strong ore spot, and coincidentally, they are the 2 people in it at the very end. Again, the cities weren't built, so it's not necessarily like, they relied on the ore as much. Red did though. Red built 2 cities and bought a ton of dev cards. It just wasn't quite enough. This was the game-winning play right here to Plow out of nowhere. It's an unbelievable move. And now, for the first time, very interestingly, we will have. So let's put this in. Actually, we're gonna put this in live for you guys. This is the last semis. And interestingly, for the first time in this circuit, we have 4 players who have all played in our past seasons of Robbers of Catan. So the original 3 seasons. So this is very exciting. We're gonna have our first champion of the year from a tourney that isn't a rookie. So very interesting. Red Orange would have been the person to be in that case, but I'm very excited. I've known all the players before, and they're all very strong players. It should be a great one. Let's look through the dice stats real quick, and the 5, just ungodly amounts. But we remember that green was relying a lot on 5s for production. So even though the 16 5s rolled, it wasn't enough for green to make too much of a dent in the run, right? But overall, other than that, pretty even distribution. The 11s rolled a little bit more, but 8s rolled a little bit less, but you can't complain too much. And resource stats. Oh, interestingly enough, right, again, it wasn't about the resources of this game, because it was about compatible resources, right? The production itself didn't matter. Green here had the great 3-for-1 port with a huge production, 90 resources, which, the tenet of the game is if you produce the most, you'll win the game. But in a board like this, it's a very weird board, it's not necessarily true. You need to have compatible resources. You need to have resources that you can use together a lot. And unfortunately for green, they weren't able to actually use the resources together in a compatible way, where they were getting wheat and wood, which they can't really use together, versus, at least with red, there's the 6, which is coordinated brick wheat, brick wood, which means road, right? So overall, a very interesting game. Low brick and low ore. Surprisingly high ore for the board, but that's okay. And here are the dev cards. The most important dev card of the game right here. And yeah, I think this was a very fun game to watch. I'm glad I got to watch it. Glad I got to scout it. Slenderman takes home the win, and I look forward to playing him in the finals. You'll see different faces for the commentary on that one. So wish me luck, and I'll see you guys there. Take care. Peace.